Anger is one of the most common emotions that we experience in our lives. It can take many forms, from mild irritation to intense rage. And in a world where frustration often feels like a part of daily existence, many of us feel trapped by it. But did you know that in the Buddhist tradition, anger is seen in a very different light than what we might typically expect? In Buddhism, anger isn't just an emotion that comes and goes. It's much deeper than that. It's often rooted in our attachments to desires, expectations, and the way we think things should be. The Buddha taught that anger arises when we feel that something important has been taken from us, or when things don't go the way we expect them to. But the most profound part of his teachings. He doesn't just say, suppress your anger. He doesn't tell us to bottle it up and pretend it isn't there. No, the Buddha asks us to understand it. He encourages us to look at it with clarity and insight, so that we can eventually transform it into something more constructive. Let's pause for a moment. Think about the times when you felt angry. Maybe it was a colleague at work who pushed your buttons, or perhaps it was an event that threw you off course. Maybe even something within yourself, like unmet expectations or old wounds, sparked that anger. What triggered it? Take a moment and reflect. What made you feel that rush of emotion? Understanding the trigger is the first crucial step to transforming your anger. Without awareness, we remain victims of our emotions, unable to control how we respond. But with awareness, we begin to have the power to choose a different path. What's fascinating is that the Buddha teaches us that anger, when seen clearly, is actually an opportunity for self-growth. Rather than shying away from it, we can use it as a tool for introspection. Anger is often like a mirror, reflecting back to us the things that we are attached to. It shows us where we are holding on too tightly. Perhaps it's our need to control, our desire for things to go a certain way, or our attachment to a certain image of ourselves. When we examine the root cause, we find that anger often stems from a lack of acceptance, not accepting reality as it is, not accepting others as they are, and not accepting ourselves with all our imperfections. The Buddha's path isn't about denying or ignoring anger. It's about understanding it. The more we understand our anger, the less control it has over us. We can learn to recognize it when it arises and observe it without judgment. In Buddhism, this is called mindfulness. It means being fully present in the moment, noticing what's happening within and around us without reacting impulsively. By practicing mindfulness, we can become aware of our emotions as they come up, and in that awareness, we can choose how to respond rather than automatically reacting. This is where the real transformation begins. Rather than letting anger control us, we learn to control it. We learn to pause, take a step back, and ask ourselves, why am I angry? What am I attached to right now? How can I let go of this attachment, this expectation, and find peace in the moment? This process doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a journey that takes time. But with patience and dedication, the benefits are profound. We become more compassionate, more understanding, and ultimately, more peaceful. When you begin to recognize the nature of your anger and where it comes from, you can begin to release the grip it has on your mind. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can respond with wisdom, clarity, and compassion. You can choose to let go of anger, and in its place, cultivate patience, kindness, and understanding, qualities that lead to true emotional freedom. So, the next time anger arises in your life, instead of letting it control you, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, where is this anger coming from? What attachment is causing me to feel this way? By doing so, You're taking the first step toward mastering your emotions and finding inner peace. Remember, it's not about suppressing or fighting against your anger, it's about transforming it into a tool for greater awareness, growth, and calm. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom on emotional regulation. The Buddhist teachings show us that controlling our emotions isn't about eliminating them, but rather understanding them. It's about seeing the nature of our anger, accepting it, and then letting go of the attachments that fuel it. In doing so, we can experience a deep sense of peace and equanimity, no matter what challenges life throws our way. This practice can lead us not just to emotional control, but to a profound sense of freedom and peace. And ultimately, that's the kind of emotional regulation that can transform our lives, helping us navigate even the most difficult situations with grace and wisdom. Anger, though it may seem empowering in the heat of the moment, ultimately does more harm than good. In the Buddhist tradition, anger is often compared to fire. In the beginning, it may feel warm or energizing, like a spark of strength within us. We feel justified, even powerful, in our anger. But if we leave that fire unchecked, if we allow it to rage on, it burns everything in its path. The relationships we care about, our inner peace, our health, all are consumed by the flames of anger. What begins as a small spark can quickly escalate into a wildfire that destroys everything it touches. Buddhism teaches us that anger is not just an emotion, it is a form of suffering. It clouds our judgment, distorts our perspective, and prevents us from seeing the bigger picture. When we are angry, we are often trapped in a narrow view of the world. Our emotions cloud our perception, and we lose the ability to think clearly. We become consumed by the need to be right or to win the argument, or we allow the bitterness of past wrongs to take over our present moment. Anger keeps us stuck in the past or locked in future fears, pulling us further away from the peace and serenity of the present. But here's the thing, the more we hold onto anger, the more it feeds our suffering. Anger doesn't just affect us in the moment, it lingers. It festers inside us, and as it grows, it begins to shape our thoughts, our words, and our actions in ways we may not even be aware of. When we hold onto anger, we create a cycle of negativity that can be hard to break. This cycle feeds itself, making it harder to find peace and harder to break free from the grip of that destructive emotion. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I'm justified in my anger. I've been wronged. It's true that there are times in life when anger may seem like the natural response. When we're hurt, betrayed, or treated unjustly, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our anger is warranted, even righteous. And in many ways, it can feel good to express that anger, to release that pent-up frustration. But the truth is, anger doesn't bring the resolution we seek. It doesn't heal the hurt, and it certainly doesn't bring us closer to peace. In fact, it often does the opposite. The more we hold onto it, the more it erodes our well-being and our relationships. In Buddhism, this is seen clearly in the teachings about suffering. The Buddha understood that suffering is an inherent part of life, but he also recognized that we don't have to let it define us. Anger is a form of suffering that we can transform, but only if we understand its true nature. When we cling to anger, we are clinging to the very thing that causes our pain. We are attaching ourselves to something that, by its nature, will only lead to more suffering. It becomes a vicious cycle that traps us in negativity, keeping us from experiencing the peace and joy that are always available to us. But here's the hope that Buddhism offers: there is a way out of this cycle. The key to breaking free is understanding the deeper nature of our emotions. When we start to observe our anger with mindfulness, when we truly see it for what it is, a fleeting emotion that arises from attachment and expectations, we can begin to loosen its grip on us. The Buddha teaches that awareness is the first step toward freedom. When we become aware of our emotions, when we understand why they arise, we create the space to choose how to respond. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can pause, reflect, and choose a path that leads us to peace. This is the power of mindfulness, the ability to be present with our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Instead of letting anger control us, we take control of how we experience and respond to it. We don't suppress it or deny it. Instead, we observe it with curiosity and compassion. We ask ourselves, what is this anger telling me? Why am I feeling this way? What am I attached to in this moment? By asking these questions, we start to see that anger is not who we are. It's just an emotion, a temporary state of mind that can be transformed. Buddhism also teaches us that when we hold on to anger, we not only harm ourselves but also others. Anger often leads us to say things we regret, to act in ways that harm those around us. It can create distance in our relationships, building walls of resentment and misunderstanding. The Buddha encourages us to practice compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. By letting go of anger, we create space for understanding, empathy, and love. We learn to see others, and ourselves, with more kindness and less judgment. We become more patient, more forgiving, and more present in our relationships. So, how do we begin to break free from the cycle of anger? The first step is to recognize that anger is not our enemy. It is a signal, a message that something inside us needs attention. It's a reminder that we are attached to something, whether it's a person, a situation, or an outcome. By understanding this, we can start to unravel the root cause of our anger and transform it. Instead of letting it consume us, we can learn to use it as a tool for growth and self-awareness. Through mindfulness and compassion, we can let go of the attachments that feed our anger, creating space for peace, understanding, and deeper connection with others. Remember, the Buddha didn't tell us to suppress our emotions. He simply taught us how to understand and transform them. And when we do, we begin to free ourselves from the suffering that anger causes. We begin to experience a life filled with greater peace, clarity, and compassion. So the next time anger arises, instead of letting it burn out of control, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what is this anger really about? What can I learn from it? In that moment of awareness, you will find the path to freedom from the cycle of suffering, and the door to a more peaceful, compassionate life. In the journey of life, anger is something we all experience. It's a universal emotion, something we cannot escape. But what if I told you that instead of letting anger control you, there's a way to transform it? That's where Buddhism comes in. The Buddha taught us a powerful practice, mindfulness. It's one of the most profound tools we can use to transform our relationship with emotions, including anger. Mindfulness is more than just a buzzword, it's a way of being. It's the ability to be present, to observe what's happening in our minds and bodies without reacting impulsively. Imagine for a moment that you're feeling a wave of anger rising within you. Instead of acting on that anger immediately, what if you could pause, just for a moment, and observe it? This is the essence of mindfulness. It's not about suppressing the anger or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging it with awareness and then choosing how to respond. Think of it like stepping back from the heat of the moment. When we react impulsively to anger, we often end up saying or doing things we regret. But with mindfulness, we give ourselves space to breathe, to reflect, and to choose our response instead of being swept away by the emotional tide. It's a moment of freedom to be in control of how we respond to what's happening around us. This is exactly what the Buddha taught. He didn't say that we should suppress our emotions or deny their existence. He simply offered us a way to work with them skillfully. The Buddha understood that emotions like anger, while natural, can lead us to suffering if we don't learn to manage them. And that's why mindfulness is so important. It's the tool that allows us to break free from the cycle of reactive behavior and to approach anger in a more thoughtful, deliberate way. Mindfulness allows us to see anger for what it is, a temporary emotional response. It's not who we are. When we observe our anger with awareness, we can start to notice the patterns, the triggers, and the thoughts that feed into it. We realize that anger doesn't have to control us. By simply acknowledging its presence, we can prevent ourselves from getting caught in its grip. This practice of mindfulness doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to look deeply at our emotions. But with consistent practice, we can slowly start to change how we respond to anger. Instead of letting it take over, we begin to act from a place of calm, clarity, and compassion. Over time, we learn to use our anger as an opportunity for growth, understanding, and even healing. But here's the thing: mindfulness isn't just about transforming anger. It's about transforming the way we interact with all of our emotions. The more we practice, the more we realize that we have the power to choose our responses. We don't have to be at the mercy of our emotions. And this is where true emotional freedom lies, when we stop being controlled by our emotions and start controlling how we respond to them. So, how do we start practicing mindfulness in moments of anger? It's simple, but not always easy. The next time you feel that wave of anger rising within you, take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you need to, and simply observe the feeling. Don't try to push it away, but don't let it take over either. Just notice where you feel it in your body. What thoughts are going through your mind? What does the anger want you to do? Just observe, without judgment. By observing with awareness, we create a space between stimulus and reaction. This is the key. In that space, we have a choice. And the more we practice, the easier it becomes to make the right choice, to act with kindness, patience, and wisdom, instead of reacting with anger. Buddhism teaches that everything, including our emotions, is impermanent. Our anger will pass, just like any other feeling. But in the moment, it can feel all-consuming. That's why mindfulness is so powerful. It's a tool that helps us navigate the storm of emotions with a calm mind. It helps us avoid being swept away by the waves, and instead, we learn to ride them with grace. In the end, transforming anger through mindfulness isn't about becoming perfect or emotionless. It's about becoming more aware, more in control, and more compassionate. It's about recognizing that anger is just one of many emotions that come and go in our lives. And when we practice mindfulness, we can start to break free from the reactive patterns that cause us pain, and instead, move toward a place of peace, understanding, and emotional freedom. So, take a deep breath and remember, the next time anger rises, you don't have to be its prisoner. With mindfulness, you have the power to transform it. Just observe, breathe, and choose your response. The freedom lies in your hands. In life, we often hear about the importance of letting go, but what does it really mean to let go? Buddhism teaches us that one of the most profound ways to find peace is to let go of attachment, not just to objects or material things, but to our emotions as well. And this is where the power of emotional freedom comes in. Anger, just like any emotion, is temporary. It's not something that defines us. Yet, we often make the mistake of clinging to it, allowing it to take hold of our hearts and minds. The more we attach ourselves to anger, the more it controls our lives. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you felt consumed by anger, allowing it to dictate your actions, your words, and even your relationships? It's easy to fall into the trap of holding on to that emotion, believing it's justified or even necessary. But here's the truth: the more we hold on to anger, the more we suffer. It keeps us trapped in a cycle that only leads to more pain and frustration. And this is where Buddhism offers us a powerful solution. The Buddha's teachings provide us with a way to break free from this cycle. The path to emotional freedom, according to Buddhism, lies in mindfulness, compassion, and patience. Mindfulness allows us to become aware of our emotions without letting them control us. It gives us the space to pause and reflect before reacting. Instead of being driven by the heat of the moment, we can step back, observe, and choose how we want to respond. This pause is incredibly powerful. In that brief moment, we can release the grip that anger has on us and shift our focus towards something more constructive. But mindfulness is just the beginning. The Buddha also taught us the importance of compassion toward others and, perhaps even more crucially, toward ourselves. Anger often stems from feelings of hurt or injustice, and while those feelings are valid, holding on to them only causes more harm. Compassion allows us to acknowledge our emotions with kindness, without judgment or criticism. We don't condemn ourselves for feeling angry. Instead, we recognize that it's part of being human, and we treat ourselves with the same love and understanding that we would offer to a friend. Patience, too, plays a key role in the path to emotional freedom. When we are patient, we allow ourselves time to process our emotions, rather than reacting immediately. Patience helps us to recognize that emotions, including anger, are fleeting. They don't define who we are. And the more patient we are with ourselves, the more we can create space for emotional healing and transformation. So, what does this path look like in practice? The next time you feel that familiar surge of anger rising within you, take a moment to pause. Don't rush into a reaction. Instead, observe the feeling. Notice where it's coming from, what triggered it, and how it's affecting your body and mind. And remember that you don't have to act on that emotion right away. You have the power to choose how you respond. This is the essence of emotional freedom. It's the ability to transform anger into something more meaningful, into wisdom and compassion. The Buddha didn't promise that this path would be easy or without challenges. In fact, he knew that emotional freedom requires constant practice and commitment. But he also knew that the rewards were worth it. When we let go of attachment to our emotions, we make space for peace to enter our hearts. We stop being slaves to our reactions and start living with greater intention and awareness. At the end of the day, the ultimate goal of Buddhist practice is peace. Not just external peace, but internal peace. Peace within ourselves, no matter what is happening in the world around us. The path to peace isn't about avoiding or denying our emotions, but about learning how to transform them. It's about accepting the full spectrum of our feelings without letting them control us. And when we walk this path, we begin to realize that peace is not something we have to chase after. It's something we can create within ourselves, every moment of every day. So, the next time you feel anger rising within you, remember, it's not the anger that defines you. It's how you choose to respond to it. With mindfulness, compassion, and patience, you can transform that anger into a force for good. You can choose to let go of attachment and create space for peace to grow. And in that peace, you'll find true emotional freedom. That is the gift the Buddha offers us, the freedom to live without being enslaved by our emotions, and the wisdom to turn every challenge, every emotion, into an opportunity for growth, compassion, and inner peace.